Welcome to the Age is Irrelevant podcast with your host, Helen Fritsch. Helen is a 60-plus lifelong competitive athlete, flight attendant, published fitness model, writer, IFBB bodybuilding pro, and certified wine specialist who believes that your age is irrelevant to pursue goals, dreams, and desires. Are you a woman in her 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond who still has a burning desire to pursue a dream or a passion? Are you thinking about starting a new chapter in your life, but you're hesitant, thinking that you might be too old or just don't know where to begin? The Age is Irrelevant podcast is a podcast devoted to women who want to defy the odds, smash barriers, and redefine happiness and success after 40. It's time to make a difference. There is no need to dread blowing out that added birthday candle every year. A new movement is slowly taking momentum, where being over the hill just isn't relevant anymore. Age labels are being thrown out the window, and women are rediscovering the strength within themselves to make a difference, not only within their own lives, but also touching and inspiring the lives of other women. Join Helen as she and her guests discuss all aspects of aging after 40 and how to make the aging process and those twilight years more rewarding, exciting, and fun.
Hello and welcome to the Age is Irrelevant podcast. I'm your host, Helen Fritsch, and this is episode 124. If you grew up watching the Waltons, then you'll remember her as the sweet, kind-hearted Mary Ellen Walton. But there's so much more to Judy Norton than just the character that made her a household name. Judy has spent a lifetime in the entertainment industry as an actress, director, producer, and storyteller. She began acting at a very young age, grew up in front of millions of viewers, and successfully navigated the transition from child star to accomplished professional, all while staying true to herself. In this episode, we talk about what it's like really growing up on one of television's most beloved shows, the lessons that she's learned from that experience, how she reinvented herself throughout her career, and what life looks like for her today. We also discussed resilience, staying relevant in an ever-changing industry, and why it's never too late to pursue new passions. Whether you're a lifelong Waltons fan or simply love hearing inspirational stories of reinvention, I know you're going to love this episode and conversation. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and please join me in welcoming the wonderful Judy Norton to the Age is Irrelevant podcast. Here we go. Hi, Judy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so thrilled for you to be here. And for my audience, I am speaking to Judy Norton. And what was so special about Judy Norton is that we all have something in common. Growing up, she was somebody that we watched and we admired. She captured our hearts as Mary Ellen Walton on the beloved television series The Waltons, but her story goes far beyond the role that made her famous. Judy is a woman who has continued to evolve, reinvent, and pursue her passions through every stage of life. She's an accomplished actress, writer, director, singer, entrepreneur, and competitive equestrian who continues to embrace new opportunities with energy, courage, and purpose. Judy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow, now I have to live up to that.
I'm sure you will. So what I normally like to do is I'd always like to start from the beginning. So if you would tell us where you were born and tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Okay, I was born in Santa Monica, California, so a native Californian, and grew up in the Valley.
All
For
right.
people who, I always say I was a Valley girl before Valley girls existed. But and I was fortunate to get to start performing from an early age. My parents got me started like in dance classes and then with a little acting coach, and so started doing children's theater, and then transitioned into doing some small film and television roles, and then did some more theater, and then was fortunate to be cast in The Waltons, which turned into 9 years of that and reunion movies, and then transitioning from there into all of the things I've pursued since then.
Oh, wow, that sounds fabulous. So when you were young, were your parents in acting also too, or is it something that you decided that you might, that you wanted to, maybe jump into on your own, or
It was a combination of my parents in a sense, but mostly I think driven by my mother. My mother grew up in England. She was an acrobat, and her father had been a gymnast. And so from the time she was young, he taught her and her brother to do this hand to hand balancing act. And they toured around England, it kind of basically vaudeville, and did this hand to hand balancing act. And so then through the war, she watched all these Hollywood movies and she just really always wanted to get to Hollywood. I don't know that she necessarily saw herself as having a Hollywood career, but she was just enamored of it. So when she and my father were married, she kind of pushed for them to move to Hollywood. My father was from Canada, and then I think because of that influence, then she became a professional singer. And so she sang with a big band when I was growing up. So I think then because of that love and interest, my father looked into what it would take for to get his kids into doing some sort of stuff in the industry. So the first thing I did was really a recital for the vocal coach that my mom studied with. He put together a little children's recital. And so it built from there. So then my dad became a lot of the driving force in terms of finding out how do you get an agent and what do you do and all of that. So it was kind of, I think, a little bit of a team effort there to get us started. And both me and my brother and sister all did a little bit of stuff, but I'm the only one who sort of got enough work and loved it enough to want to pursue it as a career.
I was just going to ask you, did you love it when you were doing it?
Yeah, to me, it was, I mean, who doesn't love playing make believe as a child? And
Absolutely.
so it was great. I got to do all kinds of fun stuff and experience new things and loved this aspect of performing in front of people. I was, I guess, a bit of a ham, a bit of a show off, that type of thing.
Right, right. What are some of your fondest memories of playing Mary Ellen?
The cast, really. We became a family right from the beginning, and we are still like a family. It's probably the first question I get asked by people is, are we still close? And so all of that love and that bond that people saw and felt on TV was very real. And we still, I just one of, I just saw a number of the cast in the last couple of months. We get together when we can. We do different kinds of functions and events together. So yeah, that was probably the the most significant thing that I took away from it was those lifelong friendships. And then just she was a fun character to play because she was very different than I had been as a child, which is another story that we'll get into. But I loved that I was a tomboy. She was a tomboy. So I related to the character in a lot of ways. Um, and I loved that she was rebellious and didn't want to conform to what society thought was the path that women should take at that,
Ri- Right.
particularly that period in like the 30s and 40s. The idea that she didn't want to just be a wife and a mother and stay at home. That was not how she saw her future.
Right, right. How did growing up in the public eye shape you as a woman today?
Ah, well, growing up in the public eye, fortunately, was a little different then than it is now. Um, you still could have that sort of fishbowl effect of knowing people are watching you and you're being judged and all of that sort of thing. And there can be times when you don't maybe have as much privacy as you might want in that moment. But social media didn't exist, cell phones didn't exist. So everything that went on in your life, there wasn't the opportunity for people to be documenting it and putting it up. Every mistake you made, every
Right.
misstep, every stupid thing you do when you're young, all of that. Fortunately, I didn't have to deal with that or the really, you know, the people that can be very negative and harsh, whether it's deserved or not, that percentage of
Hmm.
people that just are haters.
Right.
That kind of stuff didn't come to me. I didn't see it, I didn't hear it, and I think that really made a big difference, that I didn't have to hear every opinion somebody had about me. I heard enough to have to deal with, but I didn't hear
Right.
everything.
Right. From strangers and people that you never even knew or saw. That's what
Yeah.
really probably bothers me the most about social media today. People forming judgments and making statements about people they don't even know. So, right. Um, and I'm sure that you probably learned a ton of lessons along the way. Are there
Mm.
any like lessons that you may have, captured from your years, of the Waltons to something that you still may apply to today? That you look back on and think, okay, I learned this back then, and then I'm still, doing that today.
Well, fortunately, the show was full of very positive messages and stuff. And I think on a subliminal level, I was taking it all in just as I was, everything I learned about being on a film set and acting and the professional aspects of making film, all of that. I was just like a sponge. So it was all coming in. Sometimes I didn't recognize it or necessarily embrace it. But then, one of the aspects of getting older is that I think it was much easier for me to, not resist things, but to really recognize and embrace all of the positive things that I got from that, from the values of the show, from the just the messages of being supportive and motivating and uplifting and caring about the people around you and treating people well and being non-judgmental and tolerant and accepting and trying to help and pulling community together. All those sorts of messages, I think, just
Right.
have sat with me then ever since then. And whether I always acted upon them when I was younger, as I've gotten older, they've become more and more important to me and more valuable to me in my interactions with people. And again, who I want to, if you say, how would you want people to view you, and what impression do you want, and what side of you do you want people to perhaps get to know? And I think those are the things that have become important to me, who I am, and hopefully a sense of integrity and respect for others and all of that. So those were very much grounded, I think, in everything about the show.
Right. Did you ever feel pressured to stay identified with just that one particular role? I mean, as you even evolved out of the Waltons, a lot of people or a lot of actors and actresses that you see sometimes are typecast the same character throughout their entire career. Did you feel that way, or feel pressured to kind of stay focused, or were you willing to, expand?
Well, when the show first ended, I really felt the restriction, what I thought was the restriction of that, of being typecast. And so I did resist and want to fight against it and not do the same sort of thing. But that also changed as I began to explore more about what sort of work I wanted to do and what kind of roles I wanted to do, and what were those, again, what do you want the projects you're doing to say, and are they impacting an audience you may play a character who isn't a good character, but the overall story, the bad guy doesn't win, so it's like,
Right.
okay, so that you can be part of telling a story that is really worthwhile, even if your character is on the wrong side of that. But I I just felt that I didn't want to do projects that I felt had no redeeming quality to them, where I as a viewer would look at certain things and go, why did they make this, and what is this saying, and because I feel like art and television, things we create, do impact the audience.
Absolutely.
And so I think, there needs to be an accountability on the part of artists and creators about what they're putting out there. How do they want people to respond to it? And to just take that into account in terms of the impact that what they're doing and what they're saying is having.
Right, right. Let's talk about your confidence. Has that changed from your 20s and 30s to where you are today?
Well, that's been a wonderful evolution, and it's not always a linear or an uphill climb, but that was really when I said we'll talk about that. When I was young, although I loved to perform and I had this urge to be a show off and stuff like that, but I was really very introverted in other ways and very not confident and self-conscious and fearful. And as a child in the industry, you're always going into audition rooms with a group of adults, and usually men, because it's still a very male dominated industry. So I, as a young girl, 9, 10, 11, whatever, would walk into an audition room and room full of men, and and it's like, okay, show us what you can do. And it would be, and
Right.
so there was a point where I looked back and went, oh, how interesting that the only roles I got cast for were very frightened children, because that's what I was projecting. And shortly before the Waltons, I came across the book Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard. And it's Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. And it talks about this part of the mind, the reactive mind. And the reactive mind basically stores all of our losses and pain and traumas. And then it makes one respond, and it is a source of irrational behavior, painful emotions, unwanted emotions and behaviors and thoughts. So all those things where I might find myself going, well, why am I doing that? I felt so good before I walked into the room, and now why am I so scared here? And I knew I could do it, but now I can't deliver it. And the types of things that people experience when you get anxiety or things like that. And I didn't know what to do with it. And the great thing about Dianetics is that it actually has a very simple technique that L. Ron Hubbard lays out in the book that anybody can use to get rid of this reactive mind. So to take back basically control of your own behavior and thoughts and emotions, and get over losses and trauma and things like that, and not have them accumulating and sort of burying you under all of that over the course of your life. And literally about 3 months after I encountered that and used it, I walked in to audition for the character of Mary Ellen, who was this cocky, confident character. And I literally, not a second thought about going in there and doing that and delivering that character with, nary a hint of lack of confidence or fear or anxiety or anything like that. I stopped sabotaging myself, basically.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So, and Earl Hamner, who created the show, later I read an article that he did when he was talking about the casting, and he basically talked about me and said, when I walked in the room, he said, that's her. Before probably I even opened my mouth, just my presence and my chutzpah, my kind of cockiness that was right for the character.
Right.
So to me, that has been a cornerstone for me in my life, in terms of that's the thing. Dianetics is the thing that I go back to whenever I'm experiencing something, any kind of thing that I go, wait a minute, that's not me. That's not how I behave. I don't want that. I don't need that. It's not aiding me. That opinion isn't correct. That fear isn't. And so I have utilized, what L. Ron Hubbard wrote in Dianetics. I've used that throughout my life to, if I get knocked down, it's like, how do I get up? How do I make it better? How do I go forward? How do I build the next part of my life? How do I basically continue to be the person who's guiding my choices in my life, as opposed to other people or those little voices in your head that tell you you're not good enough, or the things that pull us down. So that's been my key to success, confidence, keeping my mental health and myself on track.
How old were you when you went in for that first edition?
13.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's amazing that you were at that point of your life where you found this book, and even at that young stage, applied the knowledge of the book to your craft. That's fascinating. I'm very impressed as a
Thank you.
13-year-old. Yeah.
Well, and it also gave me tremendous insight into characters and how I approach the character, because I learned so much about myself, so about the mind, that I could, kind of read a script and go, well, where's this person at? And people don't behave rationally. And, sometimes I might read something and go, oh, well, nobody would behave this way, and go, well, wait a minute. That reactive mind can cause people to behave all kinds of ways that they don't want to. They're not being analytical. They're not really thinking clearly. They're not being reasonable. That's the whole thing with the reactive mind, is it's irrational. So any behavior that I saw that I'm like, oh, I really don't want to have to do this, it doesn't seem right, I go, well, Mary Ellen's reactive mind has taken over right now. And she is fighting based off of, something in there that isn't rational. So it really helped me in creating characters as well.
That's fascinating. That book has probably helped you your entire life, I'm
Yes.
gathering.
Yes. It's not like I think about it every day or every time I have something hit me where, my first reaction is, oh, but it's just so instinctive in terms of a grounding, and it gave me a stability. And people often ask about child actors and the trouble that you hear about child actors getting into addiction, and you know
Right.
and losing their way, and how did that happen, and why didn't it happen to me. And to me, it was really, you have to have a tremendous sense of who you are, your own identity, if you go into this business at a young age. And because it's not designed to care for the individual, particularly a child who is not as emotionally and mentally advanced in life. You don't have that kind of life experience to draw from. And so you can take things very personally, and you can get wrapped up. All of a sudden, here I am at 13, 14, and fan mail coming in and people recognizing me and this and that. And so you can get into a situation of false friends, people who think you're great, and it's all, and then it goes away. And all those people go away, and nobody wants to hire you. And so all of a sudden it's like, it can be, who am I? Because if you associate yourself with, if that fame and that life is who you think your identity is, when it goes away, you can be left feeling like you're nobody, you're not important, you have no value. And so for me, the work I did in Dianetics and continue to do, with it just being part of who I am, and how I think and how I respond to things, I knew who I was, and I knew that it wasn't the work, and I knew that if everybody went away and the jobs went away, I was still me, and I still had value, and I could find a path that I could be happy with, even if it wasn't in the spotlight.
Right, right.
So I never went down the road, and never taken, a recreational drug in my life. Didn't get into those kinds of things when people I knew were. I just went, no, this is not, I don't need that. Because I think
Hmm.
people do that because they're searching for how to get over their anxiety or their depression or their lack of confidence, all those sorts of things. And
Hmm.
and they're looking for some stability in their mental health. And I went, I had found something that gave me that, and so I didn't want to try to search for that artificially.
Right, right. Well, you're such a wonderful example of reinvention. You wear so many hats. Um, what does reinvention mean to you?
I think it is following the open door sometimes. That, the old cliche, if a
Like that.
door if a door closes, a window opens. Um, so if I was trying to go down a particular path and felt like I was hitting brick wall after brick wall, I'd just kind of start expanding my view and go, well, what else could I do? And sometimes I just sit down and make a list of, well, I could do this. I could call this person. I could, I could write a book. I could, I could sing, and I could make an album. I just come up with as many ideas as I could, and start exploring paths. And inevitably, if I got out and I got active and I started exploring things, whether what happened was based on one of those or something appeared to come in that I wasn't even expecting. But if you're reaching out, things do come back, I found. And, something opens up, and a conversation you have with somebody leads to something else. And so I just started going down that path. I mean, I fell into, I started writing and directing for a theater company up in Canada, that just kind of appeared to fall into my lap, but not really. All the
Right.
years of all the work I'd been doing made it possible. And so I spent 8 years writing and directing for a theater company and learned a ton, being on the other side of it. And that led to other writing projects and other collaborations. And so it just kind of, and then I always wanted to sing. So I started studying singing while I was doing the Waltons, and ended up then going into doing musical theater work, which is something I really wanted to do. And then that branched into just some concert stuff, and then some recording. And so
Wow.
yeah, there you go.
I find, and you might agree with this, it sounds like you do, that the older that we get, I see a lot of women and their peripheral vision just start closing
Mm.
in, and they develop these blinders, and all they see is the straight and narrow. And I just feel like so many women, especially our age, have missed so many opportunities because of that peripheral vision
Mm.
narrowing. It sounds like, you've gone through all these things, but you're open and receptive to having things come into your life. And I think a lot of people are so used to this blinder theory and just following down this straight path that they don't see all the opportunities available to them. Um, do
I
you?
think you're right that they might not even think to look, or they might get in their own way by going, oh, I couldn't do that.
Right,
I hear
right.
that a lot from other women. It's like, well, I'm too old. No, I couldn't start something new, or I'm
Hmm.
afraid of change, or afraid to step out of what they think is their comfort zone, or any of those things. And
Right,
yeah,
right. That was like my next question. What do you think? Why do you think so many women over 50 feel so hesitant to reinvent themselves? Do you have an opinion on that?
I think there is a comfort in what you know, and it's risky and can be uh, frightening to take some of those leaps of faith. And I don't want to sound like an ad here, but that's to me where what Dianetics is all about, is that getting out of your own way, and getting rid of those things that aren't aiding you, the ways in which you are not aiding yourself, that you're getting in your way, that you're sabotaging, that you're not intentionally, but and
Yeah,
that's the whole thing. That's what's so insidious about this reactive mind, is that if you could see it, you you wouldn't do it. But you can literally, I found myself, I remember, there'd be times where I'm like, I could hear things coming out of my mouth, and I'm like, why, stop talking, why am I and it would keep coming out. It would be like, no, the little monsters come out, and the little demons in the head, the little, and it's just, it's a frightening place to be, and it's, I can understand why, if people don't feel like they know what to do about it, you try all kinds of things. But this is the thing that I have found that has been effective and helped me every single time. So I think it's, and sometimes you just have to, you have to take it on whatever little steps you can. It's
Right.
sort of like, don't feel like you have to, for me, skydiving, you don't have to jump out of the plane right away. You can sort of go, maybe skydiving isn't your thing. Maybe it's, getting out in nature and taking a walk. Maybe you can't hike, maybe you can't climb it, but you can take a walk with a friend, hang out. There's always something we can do that will help. And I feel like a positive mindset and staying on a positive track and believing that there are answers and there are solutions and you can find them and you can improve and your life can improve, that all of that, I think that, I believe, because I have experienced it, that in a way we bring about where our thoughts are and where our projections are and what we're creating. If someone, I remember a girlfriend years ago, and this hadn't even occurred to me, but she was talking about weight loss. And she said, well, if you think about it, people who are looking to lose weight are always saying, well, I'm so fat, and if I eat that, I'll get fat, and this will make me fat, and I'm just so fat. And, it's sort of like, I went, how interesting. And I'm not saying it's that simplistic by any means, and I apologize to people who struggle with their weight if, it's like, oh, yeah, right, you just have to have a positive mindset. But she would just go, yeah, I just think, well, I can eat anything I want, and I never put on weight. And it was true for her. And I'm not saying it's that simple, but that idea that if you think you can't, you can't.
Right. Absolutely. I
And
love
if you
that.
think
Yeah.
you can, you will continue forward. And because everybody you hear, these people who are successful and the people that, the struggles they went through, and they were, at the bottom, and they, but they never gave up. They never once considered that they were going to give up. And that drive and that persistence, is just, I think, important in life in general.
Yes,
Just,
absolutely.
to really, that's the battle, is to just not buy into no. Because you can always do something. I mean, maybe you lose some physical ability, but there's other ways to create. When I stopped, I moved. I wasn't even living in Hollywood anymore. I was, raising my son, and, and kind of going, well, there's no film and television around here. So I went, well, I just need to create. What can I create? So I got involved with the PTA, and I helped put a little show on at my son's school, and I got involved with raising funds for the community through putting on shows. And, it was just like, I decorated my house, I wasn't any good at it, but it was fun. And I had, so, there's always, and it lifted my spirits, and it made me feel like I was creating something.
Right. Right. Do you have any advice that you could give to a woman who feels stuck and doesn't really know where to start, especially midlife?
Yeah. Um, I feel like, for me, like, that making a list of ideas was always hugely beneficial. You know, I mean, first thing I'd say is read Dianetics and use it. But, along with that, yeah, because when I didn't know what my next job was, because this is a business full of where's my next job, where's my next
Right.
paycheck, how do I
Yeah.
pay my next mortgage? Um, and I would sit down and go, great, what are all the ways that I could work? And I just make them up. I just go, well, and I just make the list as long as I could. And some of them might be completely implausible, but there were some that were plausible. And then there was like, well, who could I call that might either have something, a lead for me, or might know somebody who had a lead? Or so I just do that. And now we have so much more access to research. You get on your phone, your computer, whatever, and you can you can do searches and things like that, and it just outreach, man,
Mm-hmm. You're
and the
right.
more you can create personal contacts, the better. I mean, there's forums, there's chat groups, there's, like when people say, how do I get into acting? It's like, well, I don't know, go look up your local little theater community, theater projects, go, get involved in something, go, even if you never become a professional, if it's something you enjoy and you can be part of it, do it. So I think it is sort of taking those, whatever those baby steps are for you, and just take a step. Don't worry about you're not there yet. Just what's the first step? Lay out, if you're looking to pursue something, okay, what are the steps along the way, and just keep getting on the path and keep walking. And the path may wind, and it may, but sitting and waiting and being negative will never get you anywhere. So
Amen.
yeah, and surround yourself with positive people, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah, I'm all about that too. Just find a
Yeah,
community, find your people,
yeah.
and you surround yourself with that. You have acted, written, directed, and sung. I mean, you've done so many things. What drives your creativity?
Challenges, the enjoyment I get out of, doing the things that I do. And sometimes they've been surprising. I never thought I would enjoy being like behind the scenes. And yet, the first night I sat in the theater on opening night of a show I wrote, in the audience, and listened to people's reactions, and the first laugh, it's like, oh my goodness, I wrote that and they're laughing. I was like a
Yeah.
little kid again. It's like, oh wow, look at what I did. Watching a vision of mine come to life on stage was like every bit as satisfying as being the one up on stage bringing that to life, and
Right.
sometimes more so, because it was my whole vision. That it was like playing with dolls, like when
Yeah.
you're little, and I would make my
Yeah.
Barbies talk, and they do things. And it was kind of
Right.
like, wow, I have these live people, and I can move them around, and I can put words in their mouth.
Right. That's awesome. I mean, you're sitting in the audience like a proud mom. You're just like,
Exactly.
yeah, that is so awesome.
Yeah. So each
Uh,
each new creative venture is just yeah, as long as I get some satisfaction or enjoyment out of it, and I enjoy the journey. And I think that's important too for people, is any job is going to have downsides, but you know, if the good outweighs the bad and you have fun along the way, it's not always for me about the finished product. It's about enjoying the journey and the people that I collaborate with along the way.
right, right. Is there a particular role that you enjoy more today, as far as actress, writer, director, singer, or even something else? I know you're a quite the equestrian too.
uh, I love a variety of things, and I always feel
Possibly.
like it's whatever I'm doing at the time. I'll think like I just finished a stage production. Literally, I just drove home yesterday from doing a production of On Golden Pond, and
Oh,
yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Um, and I hadn't done a sort of straight play, that much dial, and in some time, with COVID, changed a lot of things, and so I hadn't necessarily been doing theater, and so when I got the script, I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot of words. Okay, And there was that moment where I went, am I going to be, I used to be able to remember lines easily. Am I still going to be able to? So there was those little moments of where it snuck in, and I went, nah, I'm just going to, good, get to work. So give yourself more time. Make sure you know it. Do it, whatever. Forget it. You've done it a million times. Do it. And so while I was doing that, I'm like, oh, I really love stage. And then I'll go do a musical performance, and I'll be like, oh gosh, I love singing, and you know.
oh, okay.
So
Right.
yeah, and I get out, go ride my horse, and go do a competition, and it's like it's terrifying and exhilarating at the same time, and
Right, right. Do you ever come to a like a point, or even a crossroads, when where you think, okay, I need to start a new challenge, or you feel stagnant, or have you felt that way in your life? Really?
Yeah, and it's typically when there isn't as much happening as maybe I feel I would like, or I'm between. I've been really busy, and then there's a slow time for me. I finished wrapped up the projects I was doing, and I don't have something else yet to be focused on. And I'm aware that those are the times I have to be aware of not just saying yes to things because I have a momentary boredom. Because that's when I have in the past gotten agreed to do things, and then I get them and go, oh, why did I agree to do this? This is not either something that brings me joy, or it's more trouble than it's worth, or it's some situation I kind of had some misgivings about, but I went, well, I'm not doing anything else, I'll do it. And then I went, no. So those are the lessons I've learned as well. And sometimes it's like, well, then this is a point in time when I'll just enjoy life. And I'm doing a lot of that too. Like just my engagement with other people. COVID did change a lot of things. I think not just for me, but for a lot of people. I was supposed to go direct to film, and it never happened because it shut down, and then it never came back together. But that was when I started my podcast, and I was home alone. Everybody was home, home alone. I mean, with my husband, but it's like I can't go work. We're sitting around the house going, well, what are we going to do today? And I wanted to be able to reach out. And so I started this podcast. We have a really lovely, loyal fan base for the Waltons. I mean, it's 50 plus years, and there's still, people who watch it multiple times a day. And so I
Oh my
just
gosh.
started this podcast about behind the scenes of the Waltons on YouTube. And I didn't know it was, an experimental thing, and I'm now 6 years into it, and nearly 100,000 subscribers, and 25
That's wonderful.
million views, and it's just grown. And so that became something. I thought let me see, but it sort of drew this community together, and it gave me an opportunity to give back to these people who the show has meant so much to, and that have continued to watch it. And so just, yeah, I answer people's questions about the show. I interview members of the cast. I, talk about episodes, how we filmed things, and I'm always fascinated by people's questions. And because since I grew up around it, I assume that people know much more about the making of anything, film, television, whatever, than they do. It's like, well, why did it take 6.5 days to shoot an episode? So I have an opportunity to enlighten people and all that sort of thing. And again, try to encourage people to be positive and to exemplify as much as possible what they love and appreciate about the show, how they
Right.
interact with people, be
Right.
supportive, help people in your community, all those types of things. So that's been very rewarding. It's been a little bit of a pet project, and it's just kind of grown. And so it's sort of, some weeks I spend more time on it. I answer every single comment, or at least read them, and so I think it really has built this community that really is very gratifying.
That's amazing, especially after all these years.
Yeah.
And one thing I always wondered, because you know, all these actresses and actors, whether it be a TV show or even a movie, having to learn all the lines that you had to learn. I mean, would you just learn those as each episode, each time that you were on the screen for that one particular, set, I mean, or shot? And I mean, I find it overwhelming to try to learn all these lines for like one episode.
Well, that's where theater and film and television are different, because for television, because we did take 6.5 days to film, you're only shooting 7 to 10 pages in a day. So, and even if you were every scene on every page there. You're not going to have every single line. And then there's going to be some stage direction. So you might not have that much to learn. So I typically, if I was really had a lot to do in an episode, I might learn stuff a little bit ahead. But otherwise, I typically learned it the night before,
Oh, wow.
and reviewed it as I was driving to work, and then reviewed it in the makeup room, and then reviewed it right before we were going to do the scene while, or when they're lighting. But typically, when I was learning lines all the time, it came pretty quickly for me, and I had done theater as a child already. So that was a little easier. And sometimes you might be like, oh, I've got 3 lines today. I think I can handle that.
Right.
With theater, as I said, I just did on Golden Pond, and it was probably 70 pages of dialogue for me to learn.
Wow.
So I just worked on it a little bit every day, gradually added more pages over the course of, I really dragged it out. I probably spent 6-8 weeks learning it. It's like, I'm going to learn 3 pages today, and I'm going to review the other ones, so that by the time I got to, the first rehearsal, I pretty much knew it,
Wow.
So
That's amazing to me.
it's like anything else, you drill it, you just do it a lot, and it becomes
Right.
easier. But for some actors, learning lines is always hard. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I want to talk about women over 50.
Okay, that would be me.
Yeah. So what opportunities do you believe women over 50 seem to overlook?
I think their experience and what they've learned that is valuable to other people. From what I was reading about, you've done a lot of different things. You have jumped into a lot of areas, and you have unique knowledge and experience that someone younger may not have. So whether it is an opportunity to create some sort of platform that shares that information. It's more and more, I think there's opportunities to find your people, to find your niche, and to collaborate and interact within areas that interest you, whether you want to learn something, or areas where you can help others if they want to learn more about something you've done. I think there's also tons of opportunities to continue to educate ourselves. If you've always wanted to pick up a musical instrument, do
Right.
it. You may never be professional, but you could have enjoyment out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's local activities in your community that you can become part of that might be fun. So exploring what's happening around you. Lots of people, women and men over 50, are taking up pickleball.
Oh, yes.
I have
Yes.
not yet tried it. I used to play tennis, but with the horses, it takes a lot of my free time.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I just think there's always stuff, and I think you just need to take a look around you and see what's going on and see what interests you, and don't assume that there's no opportunities out there.
What would you say to a woman who believes that her best years are behind her? Because I know I hear that a lot. I'm sure you
Mm.
do too.
Well, I think it's a mindset. Um, I mean, I recognize that physically we do, it's like, you may not run as fast, you may not jump as high, there are the body, we're not getting out of this with this body alive. It's going to, these are just facts of nature. But it isn't all about physicality. Some women, and I think that you can continue to be active if you find things that you're physically able to do and stay active, even if it's like, walking with friends or something,
Mm-hmm.
um, or, you can create, or playing games. I have a neighbor who, put up a sign. It's like, who wants to learn how to play mahjong? I'm like, oh, I should learn how to play mahjong. Um, I just think engagement that keeps you thinking and learning and engaging with people. I think it's when someone's life becomes smaller and smaller and smaller that it becomes really bad.
Yeah.
you know that
Yeah.
and sometimes it's you have to force yourself.
Yeah. That's
You have to
true.
force yourself to get up and engage. I watched my mom's world sort of shrink, and we all tried to kind of get her, and she just, we couldn't, unfortunately. But I saw it be her mindset, and she'd always been very engaged in life, and then she just sort of like a switch flipped, you know. And we can stop that by not letting it start. It's like, if you are active, stay active.
Right.
If you haven't been active, then you may need, like, find a local place where you can maybe do water aerobics or something, something that's gentle on your body, or um, things like that. Kind of get in motion, because there is the inertia aspect of life, and maybe it takes a bit more to do it as we get a little older, but it still feels better than not.
Yeah.
When you can still have fun at whatever level you're at.
Right. No,
So,
I agree.
not joining
Um,
the Olympics, but I'm having fun.
yeah, that's true. And how do you maintain your physical and mental well-being? I mean, are you active, and are there any sports that you like to play, or let's talk about your hobbies and like what you enjoy doing personally.
Well, the horses are still a big thing. I started riding when I was during the Waltons. It was a costumer on the show who introduced me to horses and jumping, and I'd always been interested but never been around it, and I started taking lessons and learning to ride and to jump and all that. And then so that's always been a passion of mine. So a few years ago, I moved out of LA and moved to an area where new trainer, new program, whole thing, and I been jumping horses for years, but all of a sudden I was in a barn with a trainer who does 3-day eventing. I'm like, I've never really practiced dressage. What? So I started learning dressage, which is incredibly challenging and frustrating, but you know that's been interesting. And 3-day eventing involves that show jumping in an arena and cross country jumping, which I'd never done out in a
Oh,
field,
wow.
over solid obstacles. I'm like, okay,
Oh,
that's daunting. Um,
very daunting.
yeah, so it's challenging and scary and exhilarating and all of that. But it was sort of like, it's been a new challenge. And some days I'm like, ah, and other days I'm like, hey, man, I got it today. And um, so it's that's been probably my biggest physical hobby. I still, do a little jogging, a little running. I'm not fast anymore. I mean, I ran a marathon a million years ago, and I was like, okay, I don't need to do that again. Off the bucket list, thank you.
Same. I ran a half marathon, and I actually did very well. I came in second in my age
Wow,
group.
that's
But ne
amazing. That's awesome.
but never the same thing. I was like, oh my God, no, never again.
Yeah, I don't need to do the distance, but I do that, some of that, just for cardio. And fortunately my knees and ankles and everything are still fine. So um, I usually, only because, and my sister and I do that. It's like, we're not in the same place, but we get on the phone, and she's at home and I'm at home, and we're both out running, and we chat on the phone. So that's my sister time with her.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if we're running the same speed or not. And so I still do that. And I would like to check out pickleball. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. When I was just up in Big Bear doing on Golden Pond, we got out on the golf course one day and, played 9 holes. I'm like, yeah, I really enjoy this too. Again, I'm not that good at it, but it's fun, and it's gets you
Right.
outside. And again, it's social. And so, um, so those are kind of my sports. A lot of my hobbies have tended to be sports.
Right.
So, um,
Do you
yeah.
have any daily habits that help you stay grounded and fulfilled?
Wow. Um, I don't know consciously if I do. I think probably I'm aware of that staying productive
Mm.
makes a big difference. That some days it's like, well, you know, there's things I need to do, but none of them are exciting. But so I could just sit here. But that was one of the other things I heard L. Ron Hubbard, who wrote Dianetics, say one time, that production is the basis of morale. And I find that's really true, that if you're doing nothing and you don't feel productive, your morale tends to be low. So sometimes it's a matter of forcing myself. It's like, okay, I don't feel like doing any of the things I have to do. There's all kind. I need to, clean out the garage, or I need to sort through. Don't feel like doing it, but getting started. That again, that first step. It's like, all right, I don't feel like going through my garage, but I'm going to do it. So here we go. Piece number one. Yeah, and that you get into motion then, and it sort of has a life of its own, and then you feel better.
Right. No, I agree with that too. As a competitive equestrian, what life lessons have horses taught you?
Oh wow. That they have a mind of their own. That the only reason we can ride them is because they let us.
That's a good reason. Yes.
um, and wow, I mean, there's so much in there. They each have their own personality, and so each horse I've ridden, it's like there's always something new to learn, and there's always, you're never going to master it. So again, enjoy the journey. It's because it's not about dominating. It's about finding harmony and how to work together, and partnership, listening, a ton about body and coordination, and plus the mental aspect of overcoming fear in that challenge, and days when I'm really feeling that fear and going, okay, great, so now I need to use my tools here, and move past that, so it doesn't stop me, but it just becomes more, changing the energy in a sense.
Right. Do you see any parallels between riding horses and navigating life's challenges?
um well, I mean, there's always questions and problems being posed that you need to be able to answer or get past. So, it's kind of like, what stops you? There's been some partnerships I've had with horses where we just didn't gel, and it was like I had to learn when was the time to step away. It's like, okay, this is not a healthy relationship between me and this horse. I'm bugging the horse is bugging me. We're not in harmony here. So it's, sometimes moving on is also the best thing to do. Like in relationships, sometimes, doesn't mean the other person isn't a good person, or the horse isn't a good horse. It's just like, this doesn't mesh. And so don't take it as a failure. Just take it as a, right now, in this moment, this is not good for either of us.
Right.
So things like that, I think, just for me personally.
Right. Are there is there something right now in your life that you're excited about?
Hmm. Um, I don't know. I have a fair bit of freedom in my life, and so being able to explore and do things that I choose and that I enjoy, I really I really like. So I don't I'm fortunate I don't have to take a job that I hate and that I don't want to do. And I know not everybody has that choice. But I've certainly spent times in my life where I had to take the job and I didn't love it, but it's like I've made the best of it.
Yeah.
Um, So, I mean, I get excited about new opportunities, like doing on Golden Pond kind of came to me, and I was like, yes, I'd love this, and it was great fun. I'm going to be going out to Texas in September to do sort of a staged, um, like a concert version of Mame, the musical Mame. So, with people that I've worked with before and really love. So, I'm excited about that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Still getting to know this new horse I've only had since last October, and getting to know him and competing with him and having fun there. And, you know, so I don't know. I'm always, I guess, looking for, I can get excited by little things and have fun with little things. It can be like, oh, I'm having dinner with these friends that I really like. And,
Right.
I mean, I can come and chat with you. I'm getting to know somebody new and learning new things from you. And, so those type just interactions with people, and um, I guess I just always try to look for the positive in in even little things. It doesn't have to be big things.
So, when women remember Mary Ellen Walton,
Mhm.
they see a young woman with her whole future ahead of her. Today, when you look at the woman you've become, what would Mary Ellen think of Judy now?
I think she would be proud of the journey I took and the difficult times that I overcame and the way that I didn't just give up or settle, that I continued to believe in myself and find new avenues that were exciting to me, uh, and following a path that was the one that I wanted to follow, not that somebody else dictated for me, and yet found a lot of joy and happiness and good people and friends and love and all of that along the way.
That's a great answer. Just a few more
Okay.
questions. One question, if you could leave women over 50 with a really good message, what would that be?
Um, that it's never too late to have goals and dreams that you can attain. And so don't stop dreaming and setting goals and pursuing them, because life is about the journey, not the destination.
Hmm.
So it's I don't think people, if you, it's wrong to think that, oh, well, I'm not 20 anymore, so my dreams and goals, my dreams are gone. You can change your dreams at any time.
Hmm.
And it's okay to say, hey, that was the right dream or goal at 20, and it may not be certainly not the same one I have today at 68 that I had at 20. There's things that are just not important to me anymore. It's like, that's fine. That isn't, you learn so many lessons along the way about what's valuable and what's important. And the things that I maybe thought were valuable and important at 20 aren't necessarily the same ones I feel today. Um, the people, the interactions, the um, living with integrity, and and being a good, who are the person, what's the impression you want people to have of you, how do you want to be viewed, and what example do you want to set, and that's something that we can always at any age exemplify. Do you want to be that negative person that nobody wants to be around, or do you want to be that person who's, you know, uh, inspiring or helpful or caring, or, just there to be a good listener? I mean, there's all those sorts of things. Um, so I just think there is so much that life doesn't diminish. So it's just really your viewpoint about it that can diminish. So
Right. I like
you
that.
need to expand your vision a bit more.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I thought it might be fun to end the conversation on a lightning round.
Whoa. Okay. Ooh. Sure.
So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions, and then you'll just have to give me like a quick response.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is coffee or tea,
Coffee.
sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Okay. Favorite place that you've ever traveled?
Probably France, like Avignon area, the Provence area of France.
I just went on a river cruise. Oh my gosh, I loved it. We went down the Rhone. It was one of my most favorite river cruises ever. It was fabulous. I agree with you on that. Horseback riding or a day on the movie set?
Oh. Depends on the horse, depends on the movie.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
How
Okay.
about a horse on a movie set? That would be
Okay,
the
yeah,
ideal.
right. A talent that most people don't know that you have.
Yikes. Um, that is, I don't even know. You got me on that.
Okay. What's one thing that you're still excited to learn?
Ooh, music. I mean, I've been dabbling it like piano and stuff, and when I have time to get to it, and I know it shouldn't be a when I have time, it should be something I make time for. But that's been something new that's always I always sort of wanted to do. So as I inch along, I get satisfaction from it.
Cool. Um, Favorite way to spend a free afternoon?
I oftentimes it's something where oh oh gosh, I don't know. Sometimes I just love watching like a movie or something, um, or reading a book, or but I can't do that every day because it's too sedentary. So I like
Hmm.
I like activity as well. Um,
I'm that way also. Yeah, unless
yeah,
I'm sick or something, I'm never like laying on the couch.
yeah.
I'm the same way. What's one word that might describe this chapter in your life?
Um, Freedom.
Oh, I love that. That's really good. And my last question, what does age is irrelevant mean to you?
It's never too late,
That's awesome. I love that
and
too.
you can fill the blank. Two, fall in love. Two, build new relationships. Two,
Yeah.
start a new hobby. Two, you know, travel. You know,
That's great. If people wanted to follow you on social media or reach out to you, or how could they go about doing that?
well, my YouTube channel.
Oh,
If you
yes.
just search that, because as I said, I do read every comment. Um, if it comes through to me, if I didn't respond to it, sometimes the algorithms block certain comments for no sensible reason. They think some word you said is some other word and they block it. So watch your spelling. Do not trust autocorrect. Um, and I do have a public Facebook page. I have a private one
Okay.
as well, but and I don't always have time to read all the comments on there, but they can kind of see what I'm doing. I post links to my YouTube stuff, and if I have appearances or shows coming up, I post them there. I am on Instagram. I very rarely get on there. Um, so those are, and I have a website, judynorton.com, which I don't update hardly ever. Because I have so many things going on that it's sort of like, okay, I don't like to spend the majority of my hours on the computer dealing with social media, so I pick and choose.
Right, right. That's
And
awesome.
my YouTube tends to be my priority because that's where I have really kind of built that community, and a lot of people from my Facebook have come over to my YouTube. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. This has been a great conversation and a fun hour to get to know you and hear about the Waltons, one of my favorite shows growing
Oh,
up for
thank
sure.
you.
You and I are both the same age, so it's really fun for me because it just brings me back down memory lane. I don't know if you feel this way, but I'll be 69 in a couple of weeks. And I think, where's all the time gone? And then you think about the things that you did when you were younger and the shows that you watched and all this stuff. And all of a sudden now you're here. And it's like, wow, it's just overwhelming.
Yeah. I did an interesting workshop one time with a gentleman, and one of the things he did, which I found fascinating, was as we all sat down initially, he said, list list things that you, whatever, at some point earlier in your life you always kind of wanted to do, like goals that you had or whatever. And so I wrote all this stuff down, and he said, now take a look and see how many of them you actually accomplished. And what was interesting to me was that a lot of them I realized I had accomplished in some fashion or another without recognizing it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'd lost track of really how much I'd accomplished. And I think that's something that can happen. I think that is sometimes worth looking back and patting ourselves on the back for, with, a life well lived. What did you want from your life? And, what were the things within it that were important to you that you actually did accomplish? And to not focus on what you didn't do, but what you did do.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things in today's society can get undervalued, like raising a family,
Yeah.
being a good friend, being there for your family, being, different things that, can get overlooked, but they're incredibly valued. Our society does not function without so many of these important little pieces. And if those fall out, we're in trouble, So, there's, you didn't get here without a lot of activity along the way. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
a
true.
lot of mileage. We've earned the mileage. We've earned,
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
We've definitely earned the mileage for sure.
and the
Well,
wrinkles or whatever else goes with it.
yes, I have a few of those too.
Yeah, we do. But I haven't had any work done, and I'm kind of like, I'm going to do my best to age gracefully and let it be about things other than my physical appearance, and whether I have a wrinkle or not.
Right. Well, you look amazing.
Thank you.
So, all right,
We're
Judy.
aging well.
Yes, 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 we are. Yes, we are. And we're aging with intention too, I think.
Yes,
So
definitely.
I
Yeah.
think I think a lot of women don't age with intention. And
No,
that's
and do the
my,
things you can do, and stop beating yourself up for the things you can't do anymore.
hmm.
My
You're
husband
right.
and I talk about that all the time. It's like, well, there's certain things just physically can't do anymore or have moved on from, but there's a lot of things we can still do, so do them.
Right, right. Well, thank you again for a lovely conversation. I thoroughly
Pleasure.
enjoyed it. It was wonderful meeting you. And take care.
Thank you. You too. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it very much.
I sure hope you enjoyed that conversation with Judy. I had a wonderful time speaking with her. It was very nostalgic for me. I just loved that time of my life growing up. And here are some takeaways. One of the things that she said that really stood out with me is we need to get out of our own way. So many women talk themselves out of their dreams before they even begin. The biggest obstacle is often the story we tell ourselves. She also said, if you think you can't, well, you can't. Your mindset shapes your reality. Believing you're capable is often the first and most important step towards achieving something extraordinary. Number 3, keep challenging yourself. Judy shared how embracing new challenges throughout her life kept her growing, learning, and excited about what was to come next. Comfort zones rarely lead to personal growth. And finally, reinvention has no age limit. Whether you're changing careers, learning a new skill, or pursuing a lifelong dream, it's never too late to write a new chapter. If you'd like to follow Judy or reach out to her, she has several ways you can do that. She has a YouTube channel under Judy Norton. She is on Facebook under Judy Norton. She has an Instagram account, but she said she's rarely on there, but you can check her out there. And she has a website, judynorton.com. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Helen Fritch, then _IFBB Pro. And I'm also at helen@ageisirrelevant if you'd like to reach out to me via email. And if you haven't read my book yet, Life Lessons from the Overhead Bin, you can find that on Amazon. If you like this episode, please share it. And if you like my podcast, please share it also. And until next time, age truly is irrelevant. Thank you for being a great community, and thank you for listening to all these wonderful women that I have brought your way. They are extremely inspiring, not only to me, but I'm hearing from all of you all the same. So until next time, age truly is irrelevant. Take care and bye-bye.